Beta testing is an important part of any multiplayer game. It normally serves to stress test the servers or highlight any bugs during gameplay. Beta testing can even contribute to tweaking different elements of the gameplay or impact gameplay systems. Got a nice loot system? Beta testing can highlight the effectiveness, demonstrate the ability to fairly dole out purple gifts to unclean masses, or show the ease in which some players can game the system to have an unfair advantage. The year of 2010 was the year of chance for the PlayStation brand, and one of those chances came in the form of an MMO light shooter called Massive Action Game, or MAG for short. On the 4th of January 2010, the game went into open beta, a few short days before release. One of the main criticisms during the beta, aside from the broken controls, were the connection errors, which under normal circumstances would be ironed out before release, but as I said previously, the game launched a few days after the beta finished, giving little time to iron out the kinks. Because of the poorly handled beta deployment, the early days of MAGs were at times fun, mainly buggy, and broken enough to muddy the vision of Zipper, but it was a very fun game. So whether you're Raven, SVER, or Valor, let's dust off those clan tags and see if we can bring this game before time back. In 1995, Jim Bolzer and Brian Soderbergh founded Zipper Interactive, developing their first game, Death Drone, for the Windows platform. After that, Zipper released a steady trickle of PC games, 6 in total, up until the company's first PlayStation 2 game, SOCOM US Navy SEALs, a PS2 exclusive. From that point on, Zipper exclusively made games for the PlayStation platform. SOCOM managed to be quite the success for Zipper, and Sony were more than happy to allow the franchise to blossom, which resulted in 2 sequels, SOCOM 2 in 2003 and SOCOM 3 in 2005, as well as a spin-off title for the PSP called SOCOM US Navy SEALs Fireteam Bravo in that year. In 2006, possibly to bolster the roster of devs for the upcoming PlayStation 3 platform, Sony bought Zipper. Around the same time, they released spin-off titles SOCOM US Navy SEALs Fireteam Bravo 2 on the PSP and SOCOM US Navy SEALs Combined Assault for the PS2. The acquisition clearly allowed more freedom and unfettered access to the PS3 hardware, but if you remember anything about the PS3 at the time, it was that the console was apparently notoriously difficult to develop for, which might have contributed to the development cycle of 4 years for the next game, MAG. Unfortunately, by the time Zipper released MAG to the public, games like Red Dead Redemption, Bioshock, and Fallout New Vegas were making their presence known for the first time. Around that time, Activision's Call of Duty franchise was riding high with Modern Warfare, which released the previous November. World at War was still drawing numbers from its release in 2008, and Black Ops was set to release later that year. The only franchise that even came close was EA's Battlefield franchise, and at that time, it was great but a distant second. This meant a large open world and deep, rich storylines were all the rage. A developer didn't have to risk building a brand new shooter, only to have Call of Duty or Battlefield suck out sales. And with the knowledge of the console's capabilities improving significantly since their respective launches, the development time was coming down and improvements in gameplay mechanics were going up. Just look at Oblivion, which released in 2006, and Skyrim, which released in 2011. Or look at the evolution of the Uncharted series. Add the hardware improvements thanks to the later SKUs from Sony, and you start to get the feeling that the long development cycle for MAG probably suffered from as many external issues as it did internal. All of these problems left the massive multiplayer online game without a strong start. With the poorly received beta and a tumultuous launch, the studio was left reeling. MAG was released in 2010, and the studio's fortunes didn't improve with the release of SOCOM 4 in 2011, which ended up being the worst received entry in the entire franchise. And after releasing Unit 13, a game that was literally too little, too late for both Zipper and the Vita, Sony pulled the plug on the entire studio, closing it down in March of 2012 and closing down the online services for MAG and SOCOM 4 in 2014. After all the mishandling of MAG, the SOCOM franchise, and Zipper, the entire charade must have left a sour taste in Sony's mouth, since they haven't so much as farted in the direction of SOCOM or MAG since its abandonment. MAG was exactly what it said on the tin. It was a massive tactical team-based first-person shooter capable of hosting up to 256 players on certain maps. It had a Shadow War system. As players fought in their chosen factions, the overall wins would contribute to the overall meta game. To add control to the chaos that was 256 player maps, 8 players would form a squad, 4 squads would form a platoon, and 4 platoons would form a company. Players who were at higher ranks could command a squad, platoon, or even a company, and there were 6 game modes. Suppression was a 32 vs 32 player team deathmatch that didn't affect the overall Shadow War, but was a nice introduction to some of the basic mechanics and a nice little entry point for new players. Sabotage was a 64 player game mode that was the smallest to affect the Shadow War. Each team would have to attack and hold 2 uplinks, A and B, and the team holding both points would have to plant a bomb at C once it opened to win the match. Acquisition was a 64 v 64 player game mode that introduced leadership abilities. It was sort of a catch the flag type game. Think Overwatch's escort the payload with more players. The map was split into 2, with each defending platoon required to escort the prototype vehicle to the other side of the map. The players in the leadership roles would assign missions to many different types of points that lay along the way, such as mortar batteries, batteries, sensor arrays, and anti-aircraft artilleries. These points would benefit the defending team, making it advantageous for the attacking team to take them out. Interdiction was similar to Battlefield's Conquest mode, in where 64v64 players would try to hold 3 bases. The team with the most points by the end of the 20 minutes won the game. Domination was a massive 128 vs 128 player map where the attackers must take each objective, A to H to be exact, to win the game. Just like Acquisition, leaders could send out squads and even platoons to destroy extra points for the advantage. This would leave the defenders the choice of either defending the objectives or defending the assets. These decisions were made by player leaders on the ground, making the game feel dynamic and alive. Escalation was similar to Sabotage, but was smaller 32 vs 32 vs 32 player maps, all 3 factions fighting each other. Each faction must try to take and hold objective A, B and C to unlock D, and where the winning team would hold D until a bar at the top of the screen filled. There was also a progression system, in the introduction of a class-based skill tree, and a weapons shop. We remember playing games where you could be flanking with a small insurgency force 1 minute, sneaking around to take a neglected spawn point, then pushing forward with a handful of platoon and major attacks the next minute. We feel the minute-to-minute gameplay definitely improved over time, and with patches and improvements, the game began to create a strong following. But with the closing of Zipper, the update stopped and the game only received maintenance patches until its servers closed in 2014. Sony wouldn't even need to remaster the game, even though that would be a nice touch, of course. There is also the PS Now service. Though unpopular, the service has been shown to be very capable of running multiplayer-only games. They managed to get Warhawk and Starhawk running on it, and although they would require more space for those massive 256-player maps, PS Now honestly could use some trimming. Freeing up space by losing some of the least popular titles on a service that's already struggling for relevance just makes sense to us. Heck, the whole service could be just M.A.G, and would love it. In terms of a straight remaster or a remake, the bumper power of the PS4, not to mention the Pro, would easily be able to handle the once demanding maps of M.A.G, maps that ran fine on the PS3, albeit still a little buggy. Who would we give the duties of handling this remaster to though? Why, who else but Bluepoint Games? They are the masters of the remaster, having God of War Collection, the Ico and the Shadow of the Colossus Collection, the Nathan Drake Collection, and the remastering of Gravity Rush for the PlayStation 4 to showcase their proof of abilities when it comes to remastering games. To summarise, bringing M.A.G back would be a feat, but it would be completely worthwhile in the end. Games like Paladin and Overwatch are showing that the tactical shooter has an audience on consoles. So the question is, will Sony give fans what they want?